And we're recording, so I could edit this, but I won't. Hello, everyone. This is not the Friday Comedy Show. Due to circumstances beyond our control, we can't do live, but we're doing this as a placeholder. And so once this is finished, it'll be uploaded, but you'll be watching the upload, which makes that sentence kind of redundant because you'll be watching it.
Well, they're watching the upload of the download.
Yes. I'm Monty Dean. That's Andrew Bartzis. That's Bruce MacDonald. And that's Melissa Hocking Hughes. Is that your name that this week? Or because aren't you changing it, or Melissa?
Hey, am I changing my name? What am I changing it to?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question.
No, it's still my name. On this, in this life, on this planet, at this time, that's what I go by.
Yeah.
Well, she's adding a Mick in front of her name.
but if you that's our new competition here at Friday Comedy. You have to figure out which name is going to have Mick in the front. Is it Mick Hocking or Mick Hughes, or is it Mick Melissa?
Mick Melissa, exactly.
So if you go to the non-existent Friday Comedy Twitter handle and post on there. Now, for those there isn't one. This is the state of comedy in 2022, where I have to point out things are jokes.
Well, was that a joke?
Actually, yes, but it's still based in truth.
So it's a truthful joke.
Yeah, truth comedy. Yeah, because I'm sure someone's going to go through Twitter. I couldn't find it. Yeah, the word non-existence was in there. That's
so. Anytime anybody tells you, you're like, there's the Metallica album that's got 71 million views. I can't find it on YouTube. You didn't search, asshole.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's usually, I hate that album. That album sucks. It's like it sold 5 million records in the first 3 years of existence.
Yeah.
Can I suck
80s,
like that?
Right. Back in the 80s, it sold 5 million records. Not downloads, records.
Yeah, actual physical media means something. Where
is that a joke?
Of media, if I can.
Yeah, well, this is the idea. We're having a chat instead of not having a show and waiting a month. We're doing this. So go ahead.
That's right. Yeah. Well, speaking of communication, at the moment, for some reason around the planet, people are having trouble with internet. It's been global over the last probably 24, 28 hours that there's been trouble with internet communication, which I'm not interested. But speaking of that, I actually just did a massive session about an hour ago with a group of 9 people where this is hard for me to explain. But anyway, I took them out into what is interdimensional communication session, which when I took them out to the grid, went out into the Galactic neural, if you like, and I actually took them out. So I took them all into what's called a communal entrainment. I took them into my vibration and took them out to communicate, for them to communicate with whoever they needed to out there through the grid work. And while I was out there working away and sort of working the field for all of these people that were out there doing their thing, Andrew popped up in the fag. And so he's just told me that he's been busy in session as well. So I'm like, but there's Andrew out there having a chat to me out, in the alternate, and which absolutely cracked me up. And in the middle of the session, I started laughing really loudly, which made a couple of people come out of their session.
Yeah.
So well done, Andrew, just popping on in there.
I tend to do things like that.
I was super concentrating on everyone else, working the field, and there you were. But,
yes, I just, I'm technically in everyone's field all the time.
Yeah, I noticed.
The amount of
I am one.
The amount of the call is like, oh, you're in my dreams. But because Andrew, it's very me, like the 3D reality. I've had dreams with Andrew, and Andrew's like, yeah, what did I do? And you explain it to him like, oh yeah, that's the 4D Andrew. He's a bit of a prick.
See, what I like doing is reading what I do to determine if it was really me in the dream or them making it up.
Yeah, or someone,
the ones that have fantasies about me,
or someone putting, some entity putting a mask on is like, oh, this is fun. Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay. It's fun.
For my experience this morning, it was more of you're out here too. Hey, look at you.
Yeah, we were both using the same. we were both
We were.
we were both using the same fishing spot. I'm like, hey, what bait you using?
That's right. It's pretty much it.
So how's things?
Pretty much
Yeah. Oh,
Doesn't
Melissa.
often happen with someone that's earthbound. But yes.
Yeah.
Remember about a week ago, you said that there'll be a seventh dimensional boat ship above me. I was on air.
I sent one to you, a text message to go out and look at the sky.
Yeah. Scuffy wouldn't shut up, and I spoke to Andrew about it. Apparently, I'm doing a bit of variety cabaret on the ship
because it's a cruise. It's an intergalactic, multi-dimensional cruise liner.
Yeah, but I learned something that day. It's like I'm huge in the rest of the galaxy, but Earth, no. I'm sort of Bill Hicks. I should move to England. Like, America, fuck all. America, UK and Australia. God.
Me too, Monty. I'm rolling there and Bruce MacDonald here.
Yeah. You got to become the global Monty Hicks.
Yeah. Wait, you're saying you have to die from cancer? That's harsh, dude.
No. I said Monty Hicks. You are a comedian and can choose any stage name you want.
Yes.
Instead of B Hicks, you're M Hicks.
Mm-hmm.
Is Australia non-binding twin?
Yeah, don't be Hicks. M Hicks. No, that doesn't work.
Emulate
Plus,
the Hicks.
You've already chosen your own exit from this life, but you're not going by cancer. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's the joy, dear listener. That's the joy of hanging out with Andrew and Melissa, where they don't tell you everything, but sometimes something slips through, and I'm like, really?
Monty, it's like Steve Martin said about studying philosophy in university. If you go over and any university in the world and you study electrical engineering or geology, you leave, you're just fine. You go and you study philosophy and you remember just enough to fuck you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
that's right.
And the worst type of people you ever want to meet is someone halfway through that philosophy or psychology course. It's like, you meet, second year psych students, and it's like, how are you? I'm good. Oh, what's happened today? How does that make you feel? Fuck off, Dave. Don't, because they start practicing, but because they haven't finished the course, they have no idea what they're doing.
So the spiritual equivalent of that is a new ager.
Yeah, I've had a conversation with Andrew about that, where it's like, yeah, but most of the stuff that is actually being put forward, not from the New Age movement, is very, very, very old age. It's like, yeah, remember this? It's not like new. Even like your experience of like your gift, which I think is not actually you can heal people, is that you can teach it to other people. That's the real gift, because everyone can do it, as you said. And it's because we forgot it. It's that's the fun part of going through here. We don't really have to learn that anything really new. It's remembering that we've done this for millions of years.
Yeah. Well, getting the blockage out of the way so you can just recall it again, download it again.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I am a teacher more than I'm a healer. It's here we are at the moment. It's Easter at the moment, and yesterday I was raised in a really strict Catholic environment, Catholic schools, locked away, all of that sort of stuff. Told that I was forever going to be a sinner and blah blah, all of that. And yesterday, my daughters asked me why you're not allowed to eat meat on Good Friday. Do you think I could remember?
No.
I said, I don't know. Well, why could you eat fish and not eat meat? And I was just like, I don't know, something to do with fishes and loaves. Maybe there's more abundance in that. I don't know.
Well, is it just Good Friday, or is it every Friday? Because
it's actually you're not supposed to eat meat for 40 days, not just fish. The fish is something that came out in the 1940s and 50s.
Because like the story I heard, so I don't know if it's true or not, but I like it, is that the church sort of like, oh, we have to help the fishmongers out, and so we'll just say once a week you can eat fish, and that's on Fridays, and so that's how the fishing market works.
There's a whole marketing story behind it. Actually, it's kind of like Christmas is entirely a corporate creation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the fish on Fridays is also a corporate creation. It's Friday fish fries. It used to be the churches would do it, but the restaurants took over. And then the churches wanted to get it back from the restaurants, and the restaurant owners were the ones that supported the churches mainly back then. And then the bigger people that started going back to the Catholic churches in the city realized it was better to outsource it to the restaurants who did it cheaper, even than for free people that were volunteering, because the fish was better. So you had this entire journey of bribing the local church so you would be in charge of the fish fry because it gave you business for the rest of the year. Okay. And here in the United States, you know, the entire three sides of the thing is by water, including the north technically. So fish is absolutely everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. But when you go back into the ancient history, it was you were not supposed to eat meat for 40 days. So that because the meat didn't last the winter. And you had to eat the vegetables before they rotted.
It's so simple when you explain to you, man.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah, it's fascinating when all these things happen where it's like there's a reason for that. And, okay, that makes sense.
No, it took like sitting down with them and after studying all sorts of theology and studying the Bible and studying all of that sort of stuff, for me to sit there and go, I've got like, it's just a complete blank on why. But there was a fantastic show that David Ellis did with UCM Network a few days ago. I think it was Tuesday, or only a few days ago. Definitely look this one up, where he did a show on angels and aliens with Amir.
Amir.
Or Andrew.
Yeah.
It's just Amir? Okay.
Amir Jahanringi.
Okay.
Jahanringi, yeah.
Yeah,
And
we're Australian, mate. Can't say that word.
I'm butchering it a little too. It's all right.
But a brilliant, brilliant show. Not least of all, David is being an exceptional, brilliant man. His insight into the Bible is one of my favorite topics with him. We have very long conversations about it, and he's just brilliant fun when he gets fired up about the Bible. Not that he's disrespectful, which is, I always find that fascinating. When he's talking about it, he's talking the truth of what's actually written in those books, and how, you know, how obscene some of it all is, which it is. But this particular show with Amir was brilliant because they were talking about angels and aliens and bringing up where it came in out of the Bible. It was one of the best things I've seen on it. But in it, they started talking about Jesus. And Monty often cracks a joke about some of the pressure I get put under for me to heal people and all that stuff. And he's forever saying to people that, look, she's not Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm forever saying to people, I do have a lot in common with him.
Yeah.
We're both healers, both trying to teach people, doing our best. But I love the way they talked about how this man came in as a man, as a human, without filter, with all of the supernatural flow unfettered in him, and still had the ability to be compassionate, or exceptional, perhaps even a supernatural ability to be compassionate. And that's how they're actually talking about it. So much I wanted to dive in and join in on the show because it was just a brilliant one. But definitely have a look up. Andrew said he's just done a couple more segments with it.
Yeah.
Andrew, are you there? Look at, he's muted. Okay.
So we did almost 4 hours. Yeah, 4 hours and 40 minutes of recordings today. Yeah, three separate shows.
Oh, that's brilliant. I can't wait to see it. It's really great fun.
Philosophies, and then we tackled some pretty fun subjects. The energy of money, the Twitter buyout from what was going on in the astral world of Twitter during the buyout.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
I like
there's
that.
some interesting there's yeah. We went into the in-depths of the system of how it was magical and then turned into a techno-magical group of technocracy. Technomagus, because right now it's the foundations of everything that's technological magic still rests in the non-moving parts that are sacred geometry, building structures, and objects created by the Masonic empires of the many ages and the pre-Masonic empires, who are creating an energetic, let's just say, template, like a circuit board on the surface of the world that already has a template that's being manipulated. So there are no more modern magicians left over who can operate as emergency repairmen to a broken sacred object. or to a sacred geometry system that's a city long, like Washington, D.C. Yeah, if they ever did major reconstruction and didn't reconnect the pentagram, what would happen?
It just reminds me of the alleged pyramid in the Bermuda Triangle, because like, when was the last time someone went missing in the Bermuda Triangle? Did someone fix the glass, the glass pyramid at the bottom there? Turn it off. Okay. Because,
no, it took a long time for tech support to get there.
Yeah.
And the
yes.
person that was calling in kept getting hung up by tech support. Anyways, the theory is, well, this is me saying this, there are no more emergency repair technicians for the magical system. And now the technological system has to learn to deal with the one by one losing of the systems that were created before it.
That is a statement. Fascinating. So go ahead, Melissa.
Well, I can actually tell you that I've done, it's not something good, the stuff I tell you guys that I don't tell other people, but I've actually done a lot of work around the planet for the magical systems, if you like, the crystal beds, the crystal lays, the structures that communicate around the planet. There was a whole group of us that would get called in to go and effectively rebalance, effectively heal. That's what healing is, rebalancing the planet, and in her grid work and in her axial structure, in her actual full presence. And several of us, or many of us, would get called to specific points on the planet. So at one point, I actually was working off that massive grid bed in the ocean just off Hawaii. Other friends were working in Egypt. Someone else was like, we're all placed in different points around the planet. We'd all work together and actually realign it all. The last one that I did was actually, I got sent to just off Bali, out of Indonesia. And I was out in the middle of the ocean there, where it was fascinating that the tide would drop by hundreds of meters out in the middle of the ocean. And then it would come back up. And so the magnetics were completely off whack, which they are off. I mean, some of the scariest, most untamable surf is, as a surfer, I can tell you this, is Bali, specifically off the volcanic beaches. It's really wild. And this is why the magnetics off there are really wild. And that was the last one I got caught into, which was about, how many years ago was that? It was a few years ago, but it was
5 years ago. Was that?
Because something like that.
It's like 7 points around the planet, and I think it was in Africa, wherever the volcano was. Because you did mention to me, because you were stopped somewhere and someone pointed a gun at you. Not a wise thing.
No, that was in Ecuador.
Okay, yeah. Because all of a sudden,
stole the gun.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, someone pointed a gun at you, and then a second later, you're pointing it back. Yeah, but you did say that my higher self came in. I'm sure just to do some comedic commentary.
Look, something happened in Ecuador. Something happened because the militia pulled us over, and I looked like I looked, and we were going down to help out the tribe. The children were being blinded by the chemicals from the mines through the river, and it's a long story anyway, but we got stopped by the militia, and how they did, I still don't understand how they did kill me. It doesn't make sense that I wasn't just shot, because, and I accidentally ended up stealing an automatic weapon, a machine gun. And I didn't mean to. It wasn't until we're back on the truck and driving off that the guy said to me, "You can put the gun down now, Mel." And I didn't realize I had it. That's a good idea. So we gave it to the tribe as a gift. But it seems that we still have it.
Well, I can see the upside. I can see the upside. I can see the upside of a spiritual healer having military training. Just saying.
Handy, yeah.
Yes.
But I pretty much circumnavigated the bloody planet, and so I had the worst jet lag you can ever imagine. Everyone thought it was hideous, but I was only in Ecuador for 23 hours. That gives you an idea of no sleep. The jet lag didn't help. Went back over to Bali to do this reconnection. So what I was going to say, Andrew, back to the magicians, or to the people that can actually fix the sacred, like the magical spaces that actually communicate from this planet. The problem is that in the last 3 years, many of them have died. They've left. And so there's actually like a minimal amount. We couldn't actually, the people that were called in to work that grid work at the last one where I was at off the boat in Bali, 4 of them have since left the planet. We couldn't actually cover the planet now.
I've just I've just been informed that our meeting will end in 10 minutes because I'm not Zoom Pro. So we'll figure something out. So maybe I'll just start another one and I'll edit it together. So continue on till.
Well, I will continue
we'll
this.
just stop and then read it.
The session that I just did that Andrew popped in on and said hi. Two of the people that were out there in the field, out in the grids, were being told that they needed to actually, they were being redirected to lift their game to work in this element. So it's not an accident that Andrew's brought this up at all, because two people were being told that they have to, frequently bring the game, and they're humans. So let's see if they do. I'll be surprised if either of them do. But because obviously Andrew's the person that can do it, pop it in there.
I'm not the best one to do it. There's a lot of people out there that are way better. Just my approach simplifies how I do it. And everyone's approach is going to be their own way of simplifying massive amounts of data. Like for me, Bali is the place of the gods, but it's also the gods' retirement home. Okay. So you got a lot of gods unrealized in physical bodies, with an angel to your left and a demon to your right and a god in the center. Okay, but they all get along. Okay, there's some ancient history. Sorry, I'm starting my car. There's some ancient history that went on with like the Bali gods that you kind of realize like it's where they sent all the really super powerful souls. They did not want to be a part of the future age, but wanted them to be on Earth as an aggregate energy.
It's actually not. Australians love going to Bali. It's a short trip for us. It's like a 5-hour flight, and but it's similar to Thailand. Whenever I'm in Bali or in Thailand, and people say, "Oh, are you Australian?" I say, "No, I'm English," and I use an English accent because I'm so ashamed. They behave so badly over there, and unfortunately, Western society does. And I'm sure, similar to Thailand and to Indonesia, it's because of that incredible influx and crossover of spiritual energies and spiritual presence. The amount of priests that have, I had one priest work on me in Bali. I was with a group of people and he was going around purifying everyone. And I don't know if you guys have had this done, where they press into your back and they look for the impurities and wherever you've been, they try and cleanse you and all the rest. And usually he finds his spot because he hits a nerve point and puts someone in enormous pain. He was completely freaked out by me, this priest, because he's pressing as hard as he could everywhere and I wasn't reacting. And afterwards he was giving everyone a blessing, the bits of wool that they twist and they tie around your wrist and they give you a blessing. And he refused to put one on me. I'm unblessed. It's like, because apparently whatever demonic presence I had, which wasn't. There is no demonic presence. That was your problem, dude. But yeah, I didn't get my blessing. I was most upset though.
Well, remember when John Saffron, he's an Australian personality. I don't know, how would you describe? He's an Australian, that much I can say. John Saffron was doing a documentary. He's a documentary maker. He was looking into religion, and I think he went somewhere in Africa. It doesn't really matter where, but this priest was able to find energy and sort of pull out some demons. And John actually had something he had the experience. Now, I'm not saying he was possessed by actual demons, because if you listen to Andrew's call-in show, we create our own demons. So I'm sure he just removed some dark energy from himself, if that makes sense. But that was one of the episodes where Saffron's like, "Oh, I don't know what happened, but I feel better."
To change gears a bit, I honestly don't know what's going to happen with the people that can rip those spaces. Bermuda's an interesting topic. I'd love to get back to that. But one of the topics I wanted to bring up today, this is a strange insight I've had, is mosquitoes. Now, mosquitoes have never made sense to me. And I've said to Andrew for a while now that I really want to talk about bees on the show as well, because bees are incredible. And it's not a coincidence, because there are none, that bees and mosquitoes have been on the planet for a pretty similar space of time, around about 26, 28 million years, I think it is. And so that's not a coincidence. The mosquitoes always fascinated me because I'm quite, whenever one bites me, the poison, for some reason, my body does something really strange with poison. And so, we would say I'm probably allergic to it, but I'm not allergic to it. My body just isolates it incredibly, and I end up with this massive welt where a mosquito's bit me. And they go after me, no matter what I do, how I change my diet, whatever device I've got going, smoke I've got lit, they'll come after me. It's only occurred to me, and Andrew, I'll get you to jump in when you can on this, but it came through to me the other day when I was discussing a mosquito allergy on a child that I was working on. The mosquitoes are fourth dimensional. They're actually a plant on the planet. When you think about how they spread disease and yet they can't kill you, think about the logic of a mosquito. And so I've actually weirdly been looking into mosquitoes over the last probably couple of weeks, because when that came through, so much came through about the plant that a mosquito is. And then it's come from an actual, and again, makes complete sense, it comes from an alien source.
Well, I mean, if you remove the bees, the environment collapses. If you remove the mosquitoes, everyone's extremely happy except for our AeroGuard.
And healthy, except for Morty.
Yeah, more, all those those things. So yes. Now, apparently,
the more you look into it, the more it makes sense. They're quite a toxin, and given that fourth dimensional beings aren't allowed to actually kill, like or particularly if you talk about greys, they're not allowed to kill a human. They're allowed to pretty much torture you and torment you, but that they can't actually. There's enormous consequence if they actually take the life of a human. The mosquito makes sense of that too. They've got the loophole that why they may cause the death, they don't, or why they may bring the disease, they don't cause the death.
Yeah, we've got about two and a half minutes to go of this session.
Real quick, mosquitoes as a fourth dimensional entity, they're that and so much more. And I think if you take the akin, the mosquito is not necessarily an invertebrate insect. It's actually more orb. Like the way it flies, that's like the way bees flies. Mosquitoes, they can create an electromagnetic frequency, but they could also mute their DNA as times shift, as the different DNAs on the skin that they're getting blood from. Remember, as a blood sucking entity, they take on the advancements in the blood from everything that they're connected to.
Yeah.
So it's also, one of my first, we'll just say medicine experience, which is not with a, sorry, I'm getting out of my car, that didn't have any actual chemical added to it, was a native experience in medicine, was with the bees and the ants. Those were my first two totem teachers that came to me. And at the most fundamental and micro layer of how they support everything around it, how they work together, that each has its own individuality that brings strength to the greater collective.
Cool. Well, I'll jump in here because we've got about 1:20 to go. I think we'll call this part one, and if everything works out well, I'll say goodbye now to the video because I'll edit by me. All right, cool.
Okay.
So,
alrighty.
Welcome back to part two, where we were talking bees and mosquitoes. Yes, mosquitoes evil, bees good. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the bee or the wasp where physics dictates it shouldn't fly?
Bee.
It's a bee. Yeah, I love that. Some scientists are like,
does
"How does
fly.
this work?" Do bees fly because of from? Oh yeah, okay. It's free will. The bees fly because of will.
No, it's also there are other animals that do it. Their wings and the way they flap and the fluids fly through them can create a friction-based electromagnetic system that interacts inside their thorax. And just like you've got electric eels, they have a little tiny organ that can create an electromagnetic field.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. So like electromagnetic homing pigeons, there's also like an energy wishbone that allows the generation of energy. Now, it's not exclusive to bees, and there are also fish that do the same thing, even though they don't have wings.
Yeah, well, that's sort of what people like whole pods of whales are turning left and slamming into New Zealand because the magnetic field's slightly a bit wacky. And it's like, hang on, why is there a landmass here? Because they think they're halfway up near the equator. It's like, Melissa, it's good you're here. Like, we're talking electromagnetic fields and animals, how they're connected to the holodeck, if that makes sense. But the field's playing funny buggers. That's an Australian term. It's because why do whales keep beaching themselves? Because someone put a fucking island in the way from their perspective. Because it's like, we're supposed to turn left here, turn left at Albuquerque, but they're in Oslo.
Well, so Andrew's probably explained, because speaking of electromagnetic stuff, thank you, whatever's going on with communications and the internet around the planet at the moment. But Andrew probably explained that bees actually they've got a little space inside their body where they actually accelerate their vibration to the point that they're effectively levitating when they're flying. Yeah. Now, Andrew, you were saying something about mosquitoes doing a similar thing.
Yes. So a mosquito's wings have a different, so they can take on a human blood that has higher amounts of metals in it. And so their overall body can become very similar to the organ of a bee. So they can create a field around them that's similar to anti-gravity, but in fact, it's Schumann resonance, anti-Schumann reversal of the Schumann resonance. Yeah. So allows them to go up and down frequencies too. And mosquitoes can actually teleport.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. Too, I suspect.
Here we have a very interesting phenomenon up here in all the Great Lakes, but mainly Lake Erie. We have these things called soldier bugs, and they're about 1.5 inches long with decent sized wings. They look like carpenter ants, but they're not black. They're very thin. And every 7 or every 9 years, and sometimes every 5 years, they produce by the trillions upon trillions. And they just are over the lake. And they're attracted to the electromagnetic surface tension on the water. And they literally feed off of electromagnetic energy.
Wow. So I have to ask in this conversation, hummingbirds. I mean, I see them on the daily, like 3-4 hummingbirds a day, different varieties. And every single time you see one, you just sort of freeze and you're kind of hypnotized. You have to watch a hummingbird, right? It's hypnotic. And I looked it up on the internet. Now, by the laws of physics, they're not supposed to be able to fly either. And I mean, they get an energy output within an organic suit, the hummingbird body, that is unparalleled on this planet. I mean, those wings move over 1,000 times a minute. Like, it's mind-boggling.
So to understand the mechanics, it's just as like said on like bees, their wings have fluid going through them too. And that fluid is connected to a gland that will alternate positive and negative frequencies on the electromagnetic scale. And with that energetic type wishbone system, it allows them horizontal and vertical movement without forward propulsion.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
This throws it into a whole other area too. We can start talking about the fairies and people, fairies, hummingbirds and fairies are great friends.
Right, they're ancestors. That has been genetically passed down to them. So that form of the fairy service community can be a part of the global narrative instead of the other side that's no longer part of our history.
So not fairy, like we've seen Tinkerbells and things like that. We're talking about like the fae, the actual old fairy, and who are still here on this planet. They're very much stewards of nature on this planet, but they exist in such a high vibrational state, similar to your dragonfly as well, Andrew.
Yeah, dragonfly are
hummingbird.
They're there's a Native American tale that a fox spoke to a dragon and tried to get it to change its power, and it turned it into the dragonfly, which made it even more powerful. I can't remember the whole. I believe it's Algonquin that history, but dragonfly is ancient in history, and there's one that has these jade-tipped wings when it moves, so it looks like it's going forward and backwards at the same time. Now, dragonflies are
cross over everything we've talked about. They love the magnetic field, the surface tension of water.
Yep.
They play with that brilliantly. They cross over a lot of the things that we've already spoken about.
And they time travel. Not only do they teleport, but they actually travel forward and backward in time, looking for their prey. That's how they're specialized hunters. And that form of energy is called a bloodhound system, a time traveling bloodhound system. And it's, again, something that was passed down from the different genetics that have survived.
My question is, being a selfish human, can humans do this type of stuff?
Yes,
now,
we just have
to
develop the higher energy glands, which are in us. They're just not activated.
I was going to say,
that's right.
Agreements were made and we're kind of dumbed down or however, but like by learning the right, doing the inner work and doing the right exercises, because like just my basic mind is like, if I can generate a certain magnetic field, I should be able to counterbalance the magnetic field of the planet and use that like Magneto does.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to do that. I don't know if I'll do it in this lifetime, but the possibility's there.
I like the way you brought X-Men into that. Good job.
I'm doing it for the kids.
I'm often referred to as Rogue from the X-Men because when I meet someone that's got an amazing gift, I can suddenly do what they do.
But you're not sucking the life force out of them.
I don't drain the life out of them. Yeah, disclaimer there. I do the opposite. I give life. I don't take it.
Yeah. So roguish. Because I think, people, what do you want out of life? To remember to fly again. And that sentence really bakes their noodles. Like, apart from flying, what do you mean remember to fly again? Because we've sort of done it. We've done it before.
I had one of those moments where I was thinking, but forgot what I was thinking in that moment. And I remember. So when we fly inside our dreams and are aware of it, that is when your thymus is fully activated, the high heart. Now, if our thymus was more evolved than it is right now, we would be able to do what the bees do. And that would be the organ and the glands that would be able to produce the specific frequency changes in the body needed for levitational-based flight.
I just figured out like how I can get past the TSA. I'll learn to fly.
Well, just put on the Pink Floyd song.
Yep, exactly. Because that's actually about astral travel, isn't it? Or something similar. Yeah. Because I don't want to be touched up, even if because my plan was to go to Canada or Mexico, and we know what happened to Canada recently. So I go to Mexico and then drive across the border. But then Andrew goes, "Oh, they'll do it there anyways." Like, bilocate, teleportation, or a levitation. I think I'll just fly there. Yeah. It's only 16,000 kilometers. I'll be fine.
Well, speaking of heading down there, Bruce is in the land of all of this. Like where Bruce is actually based on the planet is such an incredible power spot on the planet now. It's where the Kundalini is believed to have landed. The Serpent of Light moved out of the Himalayas, moved down into South America. However you want to refer to it. It goes back to the ancient, the Mayan arboreal as well. And so there's so many things down there. So it's not surprising, Bruce, that you've got, like, when I think about the nature that you have around you, when I think about the incredible neuro connection of the forest, the trees, the bush, the forest, the rainforest, whatever you call it over there.
Yeah.
But it's the incredible neural network of the plant, as well as you have the amazing hummingbirds, you have the amazing insects, you have the ancient insects. But I love ancient insects. Like one of my favorites is the cicada. I love the cicada. Yeah. I love the whole story of the cicada. And it's just
the dragonfly in my Living the Mystical Life Daily course, I actually have quite a few teachings with the dragonfly, and it's the guardian of illusion. It's the one that asks you, have you earned the right to the dream world?
I'm similar with the dragonfly as I am to a hummingbird. I'm absolutely mesmerized when one comes into the field. And every now and then I'll get one that just talks to me, like we'll stop and hover here. One of those gigantic ones that I freaking love. There's not many things that I kill on this planet, and there's men, but that was in my past. But but there's a few things that I will kill on the planet. Mosquitoes, always. I've always been like that.
And
European
flies.
wasp. No, I'm used to it. I'm Australian. So, I'm Australian. But there's a few things. I will kill a white-tailed spider. Do you guys have white-tails everywhere else on the planet? Or white-tails in Australia?
It could be just Australian.
Anyway, they're incredibly grotty, dirty, incredibly venomous, evil little bastards. And if they bite you, they're venomous, but it's the fact that their fangs are so bloody dirty that you get a bacterial infection that the flesh eats itself. So you kill the whitetail before it kills you, right? They're a nasty spider. But I was telling, actually all the boys here have heard this before. I'm privileged to know an awful lot because my work crosses obviously between science and spiritual all over the planet. I get to meet a lot of spiritual leaders as well as a lot of top medicos and everywhere else in between. And one of them that I'm good friends with, or that I've known for a while, is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And we actually, when I'm in India particularly, of course, you know, a lot of disease is mosquito borne, and wow, that's really rife in places like India. So you don't want to get bit by the mozzie when you're in India. So His Holiness and I was sitting on a little crate because we'd been given some butter chai as an offering from a local in the shanty, and so we're drinking that because there is no better chai than that sort of environment. And we're drinking that. And as I was sitting there, there was all sorts of up against a Buddhist community around us as well. And as I was sitting there balancing on this little broken crate with him, a mosquito landed on my leg and I've gone thwack and killed it instantly, sitting amongst all the Buddhists. So there was an awful lot of gasping from everyone. to which I said, it's okay, I'm not Buddhist. And His Holiness said, me either. And we proceeded to kill everybody that landed on either of us. He was hitting me, I was hitting him.
Well, I use that
and
example.
yes, I know you're not meant to touch the Dalai Lama. It's a thing.
No, you were hanging out with your friend Tenzin, not the Dalai Lama. And there's two different people. I point that out. It's like I'm outside the house. I'm basically a Buddhist. I try not to kill anything, but anything that crosses my threshold, it's on, motherfucker. I didn't let you in. Maybe once or twice in 3 years ago. Okay, the door's open, fly away. Other than that, it's like, no, fuck you. you have no permission to be here. Yeah. So mind you, I only have a small unit.
Not pass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm Gandalf. They're the Balrog, and they're fucked. Yeah.
No, I'm a person that can pick up spiders and carry them out holding the little leg. Like something like that. And we have in Australia, we have some beauties. We have the huntsman spider. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's about that big. And they are lightning fast. They run like a cheetah. I'm sure that's just to scare the crap out of humans. And they jump. And they love jumping on a human. They also love sitting behind your sun visor in the car. You open it, they drop on your lap while you're driving. That's a very Australian thing that happens a lot. I was actually at the traffic lights not long ago, and we're at a stoplight. And all of a sudden, this little car with 4 people started rolling into the intersection against the red light. All 4 doors open, and all 4, including the driver, got out while the car kept going. And the rest of us all just sat there going, yeah, huntsman. Mm-hmm. we all knew that's a huntsman thing. Mm-hmm. It's just accepted.
And they're non-lethal. They're just bloody huge, and that's what freaks people out.
No, they do have a bit of a venom, but it doesn't do much shit. It's like, well, not to humans anyway. But then... I'm the one that can pick them up, but when it comes, mozzies, dead.
Now let's go to Bruce MacDonald, who lives in a rainforest. He may have an insect story. I'm not sure.
So, I have this whole journey around this topic revolving off your anecdote about hitting the mosquito in front of the Buddhists. So, I was a vegan for a decade before I came over here, and about a decade. And I came over here and I slowly started, not slowly, I had a piece of meat. I remember it. I think it was my son's 20th birthday when we were building the house 4 years ago. At his barbecue, I had a piece of meat. Anyways, now I harvest all my own meat, and it's impossible, and I hope this finally ends this debate with all these gurus out there who say don't eat meat or don't kill anything. It's impossible to live in a really wild place without killing things. You just have to get used to it. I kill on the daily. I'm listening to all of you pacifists on this panel living in a suburb in the first world. And why do I do it? There's a lot of things you just can't take a chance with over here. A bullet ant. You just can't take a chance. Okay. It's 1 in 100. It might bite you, but like they say in the mob, why take a chance? At scorpions, certain kinds of spiders. I killed my first terciopelo last week, a meter long, coiled for attack on the back patio.
Wow.
And then I not only have I gone from not being a vegetarian anymore, I harvest my own meat. We're harvesting a pig tomorrow, a piglet, 30 kilograms. And you just get used to it. Now, what I did was I started, sort of doing little prayers. I have to prep myself to do this. And there's certain rules I have. I won't kill an animal with an idiot, and an idiot is somebody who might take pleasure from it. And there's people like that here, right? So you just clean your environment. You thank the animal and the universe and the creator for the sacrifice and the sustenance. And there's this great chain of being where things are moving up. And we've been down here a long time, and we've been most of these things before. So it's our turn. That's my 5 cents worth.
I did hear, now I don't know if it's true or not, I like it, that when we eat meat, the animal has that experience, not being eaten. That's not really enjoyable, but I think there's energy shift that they latch onto or something. I can't remember how it was explained. But I do remember Andrew saying, at the last ice age, the animals are like, we'll eat. You're allowed to eat us so you survive because all the plants have died or something like that. That's stuck in my head, so I can tell vegans and vegetarians to fuck off. No, this cow has a contract with me.
So I want to set one thing. Well, even in India, they figured out how not to run the cows over with their cars. A cow will stop traffic everywhere. And yes, India has figured out how to do food, but even the strictest of Indians are still having meat once or twice a year out of their tradition. Here in the States, and where veganism has read, poor vegans or bad vegans is the main issue. They think having a salad 3 times a day and not counting their protein is eating food. It's not. It's stripping you and ultimately making you anemic. Yeah. And it's an ideology that ends up browbeating them away from the stuff that they want. Okay. Yeah. And that's the bad vegans. There are plenty of good vegans out there that have figured out the protein mix, how to get the protein. Okay. David Ellis, he's 6'7" and close to 300 pounds pure muscle, and he hasn't eaten meat pretty much since he was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very, very strict vegan. And it proves that you can be on an all-plant diet and grow if you understand the rules of protein. Human beings are based on whether you're getting your fuel from a plant or an animal. It's all ideology in the end.
Yeah, I think my brother and his family we're going vegetarian, and when my mum told me, and I said to my mum, I hope it wasn't a political decision. I hope it was a health or thing, economic, because meat's expensive. But if it was political, I'm like, really?
No, you look at there's a lot of people like a plant-based diet is a good thing. There's a lot of things you can eat that are called vegan. Like you can eat an Oreo. Oreos are vegan. They're not plant-based. They're incredibly toxic for you, but they're technically vegan.
It's the lack of meat, yes.
And so, there's just, it's the vegan that's like the Christian. The people that call themselves vegan the loudest are usually the least vegan people you meet. But it's in terms of meat, when you are actually eating meat once, by the time we eat it, it's dead flesh. The spirit's not in it.
Yeah.
So it's just dead flesh, and so its vibration is not particularly high either at that stage.
However, I would say Bruce is having that because it's freshly killed and it hasn't been put on a truck.
So not just that, it's also where the animals have come from. Where you're living is incredibly high vibrational, Bruce. So even the animal's life cycle where you are has it at a very high vibrational state too.
The way the animal dies determines how much of its spirit stays in its meat, because the spirit that stays in its meat is contracted to be used, just like wood in a fire.
So where I live is what I describe it economically, right? But the economics of energetics, we'll say. I mean, there's certain areas you can go in this world where there are very few transactions, like a desert. I mean, you could stay up all night and maybe see a spider capture something 2 meters out. Okay, that's a transaction. The spider, finding its prey in the natural system. This is like Manhattan for transactions in nature, and you just see it all day, every day. You get to a point where you don't interfere in everything. Just like everything is natural law. The only thing I will do is I will pull my dog off another dog, but that's only because it's my dog. But if I see two other dogs fighting to the death, I don't get involved. It's okay. That's nature acting. It's, I just go on my merry way.
It's the same in India. I'm forever saying to people, the dogs in India are different. You don't get involved in dog. You don't get involved in dog politics. If there's a massive dog fight going on, you don't step in there. You walk away and pretend you didn't see it. Like just keep moving.
Yeah.
But it's just you don't get involved in as you say transactional politics like that are a different contract in a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's I agree with that. There's sort of, unfortunately, when it comes to the human race, you often do have to step in. I will actually say too, His Holiness does eat meat. The Dalai Lama actually eats meat. He grew up. Watch a really bad movie called 7 Years in Tibet.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Where Brad Pitt has got one of the worst German accents you've ever seen in your life. He really was badly cast in it. But it gives you an idea. That'll show you the monastery, and it shows you where he's actually grown up. Where he's grown up, there is very little plant life. Right. He's up in the hills, and so all he got to eat was yak, and that's what his body's known. And similar transaction. I do a similar thing, Bruce. If we're eating meat for any reason, if I'm cooking meat for my family for whatever event, I give thanks for it. I do a ritual of my own, thanking the animal for its role, thanking for the abundance of it, all of that little stuff, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
When I say I'm okay, the balance is restruck. But as Andrew was just saying about the death of animals, when you've got these mass production, the horrible situations where pigs are in cages all their life and fattened and killed, and all of that horrible stuff, that massive blood producing. That's not the stuff. I deliberately don't buy that stuff. I don't purchase it. We don't consume that. If we eat meat, I will get something that I know has had a good life.
Yeah, it's like there's a documentary called, I think it's called Earthling, where Joaquin Phoenix is the narrator. And that movie turns a lot of people into vegetarians because they show how everything is slaughtered. I remember I remember one scene is apparently this is kosher meat. And it's just, I think they get a rabbi in once a week that blesses the machine, that it goes around the head of the animal and does all this stuff. But because a rabbi blessed it once, oh no, this is kosher. It was like, yeah, clearly this looks exactly the same as 2,000 years ago.
Yeah. No, I have trouble. Like if I'm driving along the road and there's a live animal truck full of animals going to their death, I hate it. I just, I usually speed past or get away from it as fast as I can. But actually, similarly, I can't follow logger trucks. So like if there's a truck that's just logged a heap of trees and cut a heap of trees down, it's like following a truck full of dead bodies. I can't stand it.
Oh, and also if you've seen the movie Final Destination, that movie has ruined anyone to follow behind a truck, because one of the famous scenes is that I think it was actually a plumbing pipe that actually goes through the windscreen. And Final Destination's fascinating. It's basically death finds a way, and these people find out like, oh, I'm going to die, and so they try and cheat death. And the fascinating part of it is that death finds a way where it's like a tire blows out or whatever, and it's like, oh no, we're fine. Then all of a sudden an airplane engine falls on them. It's just like it's meant to happen. But the quirky part of the movie is that you can't cheat it. Instead of like, oh we missed, you nearly died then, but it's like, no, death, the Grim Reaper's like, no, sorry, I've got some forms and you're screwed. And it's just I think there's like three or four movies of them, and one of them is driving behind a truck with either logs or piping, and guess what happens?
I've seen that many times. I've seen someone in ICU on they were on a heart-lung machine, they were on a dialysis machine, they were on every machine you can imagine in ICU, ventilators, all of that sort of stuff. And their entire body was being, like, major organs were all being given a rest. and she still found a way out.
That's
Like if you need to
still
go, you
found
need
a
to
way
go.
out. It's like, yeah, exactly. So I want to,
Yeah.
I want to turn back to a little bit of esoteric, but a little bit of high thinking. So
Okay.
objects in a space, like example, a lava stone from Mount St. Helen has a specific frequency that will have a genetic value for those that have experienced previous lava eruptions, etc. Objects here on Earth that get taken to other places are extraterrestrial devices in other places.
Mm-hmm.
Objects here have a very unique signature frequency, and there are treasure hunters all over the universe who want to get in here because this place is littered with things throughout history, throughout time, embedded into the ground in coal mines, things that are out of place of time and have unique frequencies of signatures never seen before in history.
Yeah.
Okay, so objects are highly valued outside of this planet, and
Yeah.
to say that, you know, whatever the Vatican has underneath Rome and the archives there is nothing compared to what's in the field next to everyone. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
So we will have value moving forward, but we will have galactic rock hounds everywhere, and it'll be a huge tourist industry.
Great.
Galactic rock hound.
I had heard
Yes,
that.
searching. Yes.
I had heard that before, Andrew, from a couple of people, that Earth was a kind of archaeology place, both for
Yes.
cultural and technological archaeology.
Yes,
So-
because of
so-
time. Because of time travel here in 72 First Species and all the wars that were done, there are lots of fleets of ships that flew into the center of a volcano and got covered over by rock billions of years ago, and no one knows is there. And there are plenty of archaeological discoveries just under the subterranean, 100 meters underground, waiting to be found.
Now, very quickly, Zoom's just told me we've got another 10 minutes, so I don't think it even goes for an hour. Zoom's just being cheeky. So do we want to go for a
goes-
third part?
We
Sure,
do.
it goes from when you started. That's what it is. When you
Okay.
when you come in.
So we'll do a
I'm
part
just
3.
trying to find an
Yeah.
image because on one of the trips that I did, I had to raise the temple, was what I was told I had to go and do. And so I'll start this story now before we check out and come back in again. But I will find this image for you because when we actually, this is another trip that Monty said to listen to. But I got taken up the side of an active volcano. That was fun. That was not fun. And that everyone that was with me, no one shared a common language. No one, so everyone spoke a different language. I went up with 2 priests, a shaman, and another gentleman, I'm not sure who, and a couple of others. And we all had to go up and actually raise the temple and we'll be taken to a sacred spot. I will find the image for you in a quick break before we come back and show you this one little piece that was left that is phenomenal to look at on the side of a volcano in the middle of the rainforest. This was in Indonesia.
Mm.
And I mean, it's also a good story of how, you know, I'll tell that to you later. But I'll find this image for you because what we actually did, once I raised the vibration, actually lifted everything for everyone to do their part of it, the entire temple showed up. And I'll show you what was there when I got there. And by the time I raised the temple and actually accelerated the vibration of this spot on the side of this volcano, I was going to say mountain, but it was a volcano that was rumbling at the time. So I was pretty sure this was how I was going to exit the planet this time because it was pretty sure. It's like, all right, kids won't have to do anything. I'll already be ash. But it was, I'll get this image for you when we come back and show it to you because it's
So did the
fascinating.
temple? So did the temple phase into?
Yeah.
Yeah, it phased in. Okay.
And if you had asked me, I would never have believed it myself, except that I was facilitating. It was just,
So there
all that was
there-
there.
There are places like that all around the world.
Yes,
And the
there are.
New York Stock Exchange is built on one, and so is Whitehall in
Oh.
England. Yes.
Who does their
Stock exchange
divining?
is built on one. Yeah. That's right.
There's
Actually,
a guy in a
divining's not
cloak.
something I can do.
There's a guy in a cloak that pops up through history. He's like, no, you build there,
So,
not there.
so
you
going
build there.
so going back to the original part of the show today. So you're saying that those people don't exist anymore, Andrew? That they can't, you know, they would they even be able to find the right locations to build things now?
So the current educated pool of sorcerers could not, as a collective of all of them, plus the remaining high educated, could not fix or repair any of the major sacred geometry technological systems that are still intertwined with anything that exchanges energy.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, the technological system has to go like a baby learn to walk on its own.
Yeah, with everything
makes
that's
sense.
going weird, you don't want something to, like the grid that Melbourne is, but you can just see it even on the map where the central business district's on a kink. It's not exactly left and right. But then as you expand out, you can see like most of the inner suburbs of the eastern area, it's just one massive grid. Like, well, it's nearly 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers big, Melissa? Like High Street and Malvern Road and, all that type of stuff. As we're going into this really weird time, do we really want one of those systems to, blow a gasket or throw a rod or?
Yes, yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Use all the help we can get.
Because they can't fix it, is my point.
Yeah.
Even if all of them together, they would still have to call on Big Brother from downstairs. Okay.
Ooh, yeah. We have to
And
send
Big
this down.
Brother-
Have to send it down to management.
And then management is going to go, it was insured by somebody called the Masonic Order. They gave it 1,000 years. Oh, wait, it's 1,700 years old. Shit.
Crap.
It's out of warranty.
Yeah.
And they're not servicing it anymore.
That sounds like Earth. I mean, I keep using Al Capone. Capone got busted from the IRS. It wasn't the violence, the murder, the drug, the alcohol running. It was he didn't fill out forms.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're gonna redo another one.
Yeah, we'll just do one more, so we'll have a part 3. So that's the end of part 2. We shall return for part 3. It's a trilogy, yo.
Found the image.
Excellent. All right, we'll come
start
back.
the next one with the image.
Yes. Welcome to part 3, the ongoing time loop that is Zoom. I'm cheap. There, I've said it. It's my Scottish. I'm not paying for that.
So in Greece, it translates to what's called a skinflint. You have that terminology?
Yeah, I know the term. We have used the term. Yeah, cheap bastard. I mean, I don't. Is it just Australian, Mel, where tight ass Tuesdays?
I'm pretty sure that's global, isn't it? Tight ass Tuesday.
I think it's tight ass Tuesdays is global. Yeah.
Yeah, because I do know the movie the cinemas actually had it. They would have, because Tuesday is probably the weakest part of the weakest part of the week to get people in. So it was half price at the pictures on Tuesdays, and that's how tight ass Tuesday became around. And also tacos. It's Taco Tuesday as well. Why not Taco Thursdays? I mean, it should be taco every day, but that's just me.
Friday was pizza day for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just evolved into TGIF with Thank God It's Friday, which is a saying from the 80s.
Yep. No, more wage slave terminology.
Yep.
Well, if it's called TGF Fridays, why are you open on a Monday? Shut up.
That's one of the acid drops of India. When you go to Delhi on the Kono, which is like the main street in Delhi in India, there's a TGI Fridays.
Yeah.
And it's like the acid drop on India. It's just hideous. It's but we're all our spouse, and you can't, and you really need a drink, you can get a good martini there. So
there's a stereotype of Americans going overseas and they take photos of 7-Eleven and McDonald's and KFC. Like, wow, look, they have these here too. It's like, yeah, it's called globalization and it sucks. Even I'm not sure about now because the pandemic probably screwed everything. But in Melbourne, the CBD, Melissa, you may know, figure this out. You can actually start at a 7-Eleven and walk through the entire city just going, there's a 7-Eleven, and you walk to it. Then there's another one, and you walk to it. It's like orientation, like orienteering using 7-Elevens. There are so many all through the city. And like it'd be very rare that you see a 7-Eleven, but you couldn't see another one. There's usually one in eyesight.
It's like Starbucks in the United States.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much on every corner.
So
Listen, speaking of positions on the planet, I found the image I was talking to you about on the side of the active volcano. So back to the story we were talking about where we went up the side of the active volcano. This is what, up in the middle of the jungle, middle of the rainforest, on an active volcano in oppressive heat from every direction. Seriously trying to measure the heat up here. This is there. And it was, so you can probably see it's an ancient doorway. It's solid brick, and the brick was really old, and it was about 8 or 9 bricks wide. Like it was no small thing. But there was nothing else around it except just beneath it, like just sort of down here from it, there was a little, like it was a square, kind of little well that was just in front of it. And so the story goes that I climbed up the side of this active volcano with some priests and shamans and various people, and we were all told that we had to go to raise the temple. We'd all been told that. None of us shared a common language. So as we're going up the side of the mountain, I was the only woman, and I'm pretty sure they were saying bad things about me, but I'm glad to not have heard it. But as we're going up, not that I complain. I'm a pretty tough chick. Like I can do this sort of stuff. I wasn't complaining or anything. We were all climbing it, fueled entirely by, really purple dragon fruit, which was a pretty amazing superfood to climb this particular mountain with. It was a mountain. When we got there, that honestly, not a whole lot surprises me. A whole lot on this planet delights me, but not a whole lot shocks me. I've been here a bit too long to be doing that. But this caught me off guard when I got up there, and somewhere on the side of a bloody active volcano, there is this structure in the middle of nothing and in the middle of everything, because it's the middle of really dense, as you could see from the image, really dense rainforest. And so it was, I took one photo on that entire journey, pilgrimage, whatever you want to call that particular one, and that's the only photo I took. That was just because for me, I needed to see that when I got back.
Yeah.
I needed to remind myself that this actually really did happen. As I said, when I got up there, one of the first things they did, they were trying to indicate that we needed to cleanse ourselves prior to the process, prior to the sacred incantations, etc. And so I thought, okay, well, I was in Indonesia, there's a lot of Hindu there, so I started doing the old cleansing. You do the cleansing of the body, all of that going on. So I was doing that. No, I get grabbed by the blonde hair and shoved head first into this well. Like, so one of the shamans is grabbing me in the well. All right, that's it. Apparently I really needed cleansing. And so like it was probably a blessing. I mean, I was if you've got curly hair out there, I was just one big frizz factory at that stage. It's very humid up there. So they're dunking me in the pond, pulled me out. I'm swearing like nothing else. Glad they couldn't understand English. So like, and then I actually went up into the doorway. So, and I mean that in every way and aspect. Andrew gets what I mean when I say I entered the doorway.
Oh yeah. I do.
For those of you who haven't heard, my life numbers in this planet, in this life, are 1111. I am the gateway. So, and if you look at my natal astrological chart, I was born at 0 degrees Mars. Yeah, that doesn't happen often.
And our my connection to Melissa is she's the gateway. I'm the annoying prick that says tickets, please, when you walk through.
That's right.
You don't need tickets.
True.
I'm just being annoying, like tickets, please. Shut up. All right.
But what we did, as Andrew mentioned before, I got in there, raised the temple. Everyone was positioned in effectively what looked very similar to me to a Merkaba, a beagle of light, a sacred geometry, if you will. They looked at me and everyone was doing their own version of this, but I was brought to actually engage it all and facilitate it all. And we literally phased in this massive temple with people walking around it, inside it and through us, while we were there to raise the temple. And it settled the volcano. Ultimately, it did. It didn't until like 2-3 days later, but that's how frequency works. It works in the time it needs to.
So you were Pepto-Bismol to a volcano.
Pretty much. It was honestly the amount of rumblings and stuff. I honestly didn't think I was coming back down off that hill. It was
It was
I
all
just
for
feel like
show.
it-
Don't worry, that was
Well,
all.
no,
Spirit, that was
well-
all Spirit World for show.
Yeah, well, like if
It
you
was
didn't,
brilliant.
if you didn't do your work, yes, that would have happened. But guess what? You did your work and it calmed it down. Very Australians, like
Yeah.
just calm down, mate. Just calm down. Just sit down,
Yeah.
have a cup of tea.
So in the quick break, because Mont will explain why we had a few quick breaks in this particular show, in the quick break, I was guided to actually pick up a book and crack it. Now, there are some books in your life that you'll get that you'll pick it up and you'll go, what do I need to know, and open it. One of my favorite books to do that with is this one.
Ba-da-da-da.
Never heard of it. Nope.
Now, who are those guys? Have we ever heard of these guys?
Can I-
I don't know. But
Can I-
Who's that guy?
Can I get that in Spanish?
Yes, you can get that in Spanish.
Why is it in black and white? Well, I mean, in this day and age with 4K, I don't want a book with some fucking color, mate.
Anyway, I cracked the book to see, like, I'm thinking, if we're going to talk about phasing in this temple, raising the temple to create the sacred space, we had to do what we had to do. I cracked the chapter, and of course, there are no coincidences. The chapter I've opened it to is chapter 5, regarding the 21st century, and it talks about Hughes dragons.
Yeah, be dragons.
We're back at the- Yeah. So one of my first questions is, or I'll get Andrew to actually explain. Look, you can explain an awful lot more about dragons. Dragons are a fascinating topic that I don't know a lot about. It's probably why I love them, because I love learning about all this sort of stuff too. I wasn't brought in here to know this stuff, but they bring in a specific grid work, don't they? I can't remember. It starts with A. What is that, Andrew?
You got to give me a little bit more to work with, and it starts with A.
Yeah, I'm talking about the grid work. I love the way. I love the way the first sentence in the whole thing is dragons were real. Like, that's the first sentence in here. Where we find it, as earlier we were talking about the mysticism and the history behind the dragonfly, and how amazing they are. Dragons themselves, though, they were brought in as a karmic warrior, weren't they? I'm trying to gloss through the words here at the moment.
So a dragon is an elemental force spawned by the consciousness of the planet to be the medium from the celestial alphabet to the growing consciousness alphabet that's used by the physical beings on the surface world that are operating surface time.
It's a form of translator.
And so
It's your
somehow this
teacher.
planet,
It's
Teacher.
like your teacher,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there are dragons from one age to the next age that have lived on and lived on. They have their own culture and society that manages the astral realms. And there are dragons that act as taxis from planet to planet, galaxy to galaxy, and universe to universe. So dragons are a major celestial service infrastructure. And there are dragons that have lost their planet, and Earth is a home to many dragons who have lost their planet.
well, but this planet trapped in the Archon grid,
Say that again.
Andrew. The Archon grid, or am I pronouncing that right? I don't know if
The Archon grid is something that was set up around this planet as a spiritual ICE immigration service to determine who could get into the astral world, and they were only letting the ones that had lower frequency ignorance and stupidity in, and that was the Archon grid, making sure the more ignorant and the less experienced got in before the more experienced, or certain types of rebellious souls and soul families weren't allowed in, and they acted as the gatekeepers in the astral realms.
Yeah, it was an element of control, because if they had, if you have William Wallace come in, the English get kind of shitty.
Yes. And if you have 10 William Wallaces come back, shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's why the Archon grid was set up. And that's also why the indigenous elders throughout the planet were systematically eliminated too, because they were the connection to the astral realms. Because the way it works here, you need a DNA link in the living community, in the living world, meaning I have lived in another lifetime on Saturn with this guy over here, who's now a third cousin nephew to Barack Obama. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's determining that there's the, what's your provenance and reason for coming? I have billions of people down there. Most of them are in fish, but hey. Okay, so it's all about, can you meet the requirements to get in, and the requirements to get in are very high now.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Like a lot of people saying, yeah, there's going to be a spiritual awakening, and there's going to be a solar flash or something. They're projecting. They're trying to manifest something that will free humanity. Now, obviously, we know that that's not going to happen unless everyone does the inner work. But like the term end times, and I know you say how many, yeah. Impress me, Andrew. Look into the Akashic records, and how many times have you said "kick the can down the road"?
47,385 times is the can been kicked down the road.
Right, because we're in that interesting, weird time where I don't think we're going to normal, but are we a new normal of like? I have even no idea what I'm trying to talk. I can't even finish what I was trying to say. Well, is it a question? Is it a statement? Is it an observation? It's just really, we're in a really weird time. Like with the old is crumbling, but what's staying and what's being put in forward, and
well, it's not an old new, and it's not a new old. Yeah.
Yes.
What we got is the sign of our times.
Yeah.
Okay. What does it mean? If you see a sign that shows a stick figure with a skirt, that means what?
Either a woman or a Scotsman.
Bathroom.
Supreme Court. Supreme Court.
Women's bathroom.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So there was a study done by a company that was reading road signs, and the road signs in India are vastly different. Monty, if you can just do road signs in India, compares, and look at the images, you're going to laugh your ass off.
Okay.
So people from one country couldn't understand the road signs or some of the other placards that were made for like hazardous materials.
I do know there is one where it's supposed to be a shower, but it looks like a Dalek.
Yes.
We've got road signs in India and Wikipedia. For whatever reason, start page search doesn't like Wikipedia. Odd.
If you're actually driving in India, you don't see any signs. You're too busy just trying to survive. So
yeah. The orchestration of the traffic is honestly, it's like a symphony without a conductor.
It's brilliant.
You're sitting in the back of the cab going, how do they even do this? Like my son and I are just going, how do they even do this? Why are there not 20 head-ons every 30 seconds? You can't believe it till you see it. Some of the rotundas in New Delhi, the biggest city with 25 million people, chaos, and everything gets through it okay. The dogs, the cats, the rickshaws, the motorcycles, the cars, the bigger trucks, they get it all worked out somehow. Mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling.
With a family of 8 on it.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, and you're just sitting there praying for them, and they're going, stupid white person,
and they're so
stop
happy
praying for me.
They're not worried.
They're happy they're not walking.
Still find the opportunity to knock on your window. Like somehow they fight their way through it. It is amazing. I particularly love. I like the traffic mostly down around like southern India, and of course the whole time everyone's honking because that's the polite thing to do. Like
and it's its own language. It's its own language too.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Everywhere in the world, people communicate more with their cars than we do in the G7. Down here, they communicate in Taiwan, the big time on the horn, right?
Yeah.
And down here, but in where I'm from, Canada, Toronto, boy, if you hear a horn, expect gunshots next. It's just like really. It's just crazy. They just don't use the horn.
Well, that explains what happened in Ontario, where, 8 days of straight honking?
Yeah, good call, Monty. Good recall, actually. I forgot all about that. Yeah.
That drives people insane.
It did. It literally did drive people insane.
And you got to be fair. Like, you listen to 8 days of constant honking. Like 3 minutes is a long time.
All right, not to
days.
mention, some of those trucks had horns from trains on them.
Mm-hmm.
The extremely loud ones. Now, that's really common in trucker culture to have train horns on your vehicle.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, like several miles away, you can hear that horn going. And they don't have one train horn; they have like 4 or 5 of them on.
Yeah.
So, getting back to what we were talking about, what Monty brought up, and what we were commenting on about the future, and how it's very difficult to predict what's coming next, and all of these sorts of things. I have to say that since I wrote the Galactic Historian, I mean, I bear witness to all of these things. Like, even coming here in 2014 is when the time of the event, and it's just all sort of in complete sync for me. And whatever, I think ultimately what comes, here's what I have to add. And I don't have any predictions. I haven't seen any visions of the future. And I don't think anybody can right now. But I think this is one rule to live by. Be careful what you wish for. I think the future is going to be a lot more immediate wish fulfillment. And if you're wishing for an apocalypse, you and your family may get an apocalypse. If you're wishing to live in 5D, you'll begin to edge into it and start living that way, and start your own galactic communications. It's be careful what you wish for. It's like it's like they rebooted the computer. And that's how I see what we're going through right now. And the tension. No,
the spyware and malware is still there. No. They didn't reboot nothing. They didn't reboot nothing. It's dual booted. There was another operating system going at the same time. We hacked part of the virtual machine. That's it. It's the computer's fine. But its individual end users have changed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that would kind of explain why people are freaking out over the littlest things, like, is it castle? Is it castle? And then there's other people's like, no, we're fine. Like, what do you mean? Look at the blah, blah, blah. And like, even like Bruce is on Planet Collingwood, where we're at the thing where, we're dissing, what's the analogy? To win a spiritual war is not to be on the field, not to be in the spiritual war, but we're in the bleachers watching it. And it's like, well, no, actually we're off to the hot dog stand. But most likely now we're at the level of we're heading to the car park. This is boring. But this is a spiritual battle on the planet Earth. Have it. I'm fine with my, I create, and it's that whole placebo universe. Going back to what you were saying, it's belief, because I've heard a couple of people say that most likely, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in creation if someone wants an apocalypse or 5D, whatever their belief is, their narrative will play out, because there isn't one Earth. Technically there is, but because we're engaging with it, there's 7 billion, using that. I don't want Andrew to step in there. Using the number we're told, there's 7.5 versions of Earth from a human perspective, because we're all unique and fractalized that way.
Yeah. So I noticed also it's particularly there's a different difficulty level depending on what your age and your generation is. I happened to watch, Bill Maher has a new podcast out called Club Random, and I happened to watch the first half of the conversation he had with a famous young female actor. I had never heard anything about Bella Thorne. And what I learned from that is millennials are all neurotic, like complete. Now my son isn't, and I'm sure, Melissa, your children are fine as well. But there's a vast majority of millennials out there that are completely. It's not just the high levels of autism in generations after ours. There's anxiety attacks, panic attacks, things 1 in 500 people. If you had panic attacks on my playground in junior high school, on top of that, we just beat the shit out of you because you were like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now 7 out of 10 people in those age groups are having some kind of panic disorder, acute anxiety. It's mind-boggling. It seems like what we're talking about casually and objectively is an almost initiatic part of them becoming adults. It's very difficult.
Well, we have had this similar chat on Planet Collingwood, that how generation was it? All our conversations blend into one. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
But Generation X, we're half and half. Like we're pre-internet and post-internet, but we've got that disenfranchised sort of whatever dude from the 90s, and so it's like, oh, the house is on fire. Yeah, okay. Well, I guess I have to get up now. There is that sort of we care about our own things. We're not oversensitive. I can't, the slacker culture. But we're not spiritually slack, but there's that sort of response to things of like, oh my God, a bird shat on President Biden. Yeah, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had a shameful turnout as a generation, Monty. I mean, the great Gen X leader is probably Barack Obama. And I didn't think he was that great. We haven't had it. There are no. It seems as though the society is going from being handed off from the baby boomers to a bunch of neurotic millennials. It's a little disturbing. We're going to get caught in the middle, like people over 50 when they went from communism to capitalism in the Soviet Union. It wasn't pleasant if you were too old to start over, Monty. I'll tell you. You don't have to read all the sociological papers, but it was not pleasant.
Yeah, but is that because Gen X actually get off their ass and do something and save the planet? Because it's like, well, hang on, we've got the old people that are set in their ways. We'll skip those guys because it's like a sleeping dragon. And then we'll go to the neurotic morons who are 25 who have no idea about reality.
Yeah. It's like we were skipped over. We were infantilized by the baby boomers somehow. They and massively egotistical generation. I just look at the political characters still in office, right? Carrying forward those values that started in the 60s.
Right, but that previous generation, the baby boomer, was still, everything was cult of personality. Remember, marketing and television radio had only been around 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They shepherded in the digital age as well. This is another thing the baby boomers did, right?
Yeah.
So, a fascinating time.
Well, especially after World War II. I remember Mark Passio explaining to sell cake mix or something like that, they just added an egg. And that just threw everything, like marketing and advertising, everything else like that. By adding an egg, it changed things because my understanding was that the housewives, we did something. Because if you just added water and baked it, it's like, well, I didn't really make that. I feel kind of useless. But they added the egg, and they realized by adding an egg, that was like, no, I made this.
Exactly.
And I mean, you can see how that just splinters out, because that was what, 47, Andrew, if I'm getting it right,
something like that. 47, yeah.
They added an egg to cake mix.
How different things are then compared to now, because they were inventing, global marketing then, and now look where global marketing is now. And every genre, every subject has its own marketing terminology to it. And marketing is what has dumbed down the neo-spiritual movements.
Yeah.
There are entire spiritual teachers that speak in marketing terms.
Yes.
Okay? That's it.
Yeah.
No depth to them whatsoever, and no responsibility to the words they say.
Yeah.
And you can see
they're naturally being outed at the moment. I mean, we're watching that. I'm probably my number one peeve on this planet is bullshit charlatans, self-appointed gurus. And that's my nice way of saying it. But I despise these self-appointed gurus that stand up with their bullshit marketing catchphrases and carry on. But lately, the shift on the planet's been in the last probably 2.5, 3 years, while all hell has broken loose and we've been locked in cages. At the same time, there's been some sort of shift where integrity's winning and these people are being outed. They're outing themselves. There's a certain weakness that seems to have arisen where, because they're so superficial, they have no hope of saving themselves.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with people like John of God. That was a classic.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen, Melissa, have you seen the Netflix special they did on him?
Yeah, I have.
Wow.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I was a big fan of the Netflix special.
Yeah.
Because I've never been a big fan of him. He's disgusting. So I actually do believe that John was actually bringing through entities at one stage. He was actually bringing through, he was effectively acting as an efficient conduit, but which is all I am when I'm working in healing. But wow, when that human ego took up, bloody hell.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what's going on, but we're seeing that with other people too. Like we're seeing that with, oh, look, I'm not going to name names because some of them haven't been outed yet. But you're seeing that. I'll just watch them be out. And there I am, I'm just leaving the back of the bleachers at the moment, heading to the concession stands when it comes to watching them just expose themselves. It's something that rekindled my faith that maybe the human race can actually accelerate to a much higher place for itself, because these people started to expose themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, publicly expose their charlatanism rather than the fact they've been exposing themselves long before that in other ways.
I've coined a phrase. We've got 8 minutes. It's half an hour apparently for Zoom.
Is that the phrase? We have 8 minutes.
My phrase is "Shut up, Bruce." No, we're getting. We wanted transparency, but we're getting transparency through hypocrisy. What I'm finding interesting is most of humanity's like a dog that's been a card trick, as to quote Bill Hicks. Like, oh look, it's like do something, but at least we, the term clown world. Now that's only a form of like the narrative that the mainstream media puts forward. That's clown world. But the way that the whole planet is doing its thing with interaction with everybody, I'm sure someone's taking the piss. Someone is taking the piss somewhere. Like, all right, we'll give you transparency and disclosure, but let's through the lens of hypocrisy. Like, oh, you bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But seeing like those collapses, like where they're being outed, but there's that element of integrity. Now, on the flip side, people that are standing in integrity, they're having the best moments of their life.
Yeah. So the New York City flashers, exposing themselves, they have their own flasher website, and they don't need to go out, so they get a view count a different way. And the internet has reversed a lot of these weirdos to go on the internet and do weirdo things. And earlier today, I was talking with a show with David and Amir about what was going on in the astral world of Twitter right now. Now, because I have Melissa here, I think the two of us could weave a unique tale. So, Melissa, if you were to look at the energy of the astral world of Twitter, what would you be able to describe it as?
I haven't looked at this at all. I haven't actually, I haven't ventured into it until you mentioned it earlier today. I really haven't looked at it. I heard that Elon put in a massive bid for it.
Yes, $54.20 per share. And that means a total of $49 billion for 877 million shares.
In cash.
He doesn't have.
Yes, he does. He has
does.
the money.
He's
can
got 200
self-finance
million.
it.
Yeah, he can actually do it.
Yeah, he can self-finance.
But it's with finance.
No, he can self. He can literally self-finance it.
Oh, which is what you should do. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on the whole Twitter thing? I haven't actually looked at what its tale is.
The energy of it. Don't look about what it actually is. So Twitter is a place where hundreds of millions of people put their thoughts. It's generally a very angry section, political. So Twitter has a bunch of employees who have been censoring. Elon Musk is coming in as a person who's going to be a person of free speech and then kick out the woke idealists inside there and make the company private again. Now, the bigger thing is Starlinks, Twitter, understand the bigger jump that's going on there. And there is technology that makes Twitter highly valuable for the compression data that it uses.
Wow.
So, now, if we go look at the astral world of Twitter, which would be its main offices, its servers, and the infrastructure of employees around that. That's what we're looking at.
I was like, first of all, we were talking earlier about how there's been some really fascinating stuff in the past week, a bit longer, with what's happening with the internet generally around the planet. A lot of people have been having hassles with it. I actually, one of the questions that came up with that was, is this Starlink? God knows he's put an awful lot of those little beasts in the sky. Is something happening with Starlink? And then this bid's come out where Elon wants to own Twitter's language.
This is all active solar flare stuff, and at a high gas discount, the solar system is moving through a high gas area.
Yeah, and
well, that's right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's fascinating itself, because in this last week as well, we've had this enormous split occur on the star that's facing the Earth, and we're getting these massive coronal mass ejections off the star. So, of course, the planet's going nuts because we are all magnetically affected. But and all that's happening at the same time. In terms of the Twitter thing, the only thing I looked at is, for the life of me, I can't figure out. I mean, maybe you do. I've looked at Elon a million times and wondered what he is. Is he hybrid? Is he alien? Is he human? What is he? He came in with great intent.
He has polymorphic DNA.
Ah.
It's exactly what it needs to be in the time. So he is not changeling. He is human that has changeling of DNA abilities. Moment to moment to moment to moment, who is still a genius, who still has a high charisma value, who still has spiritual connections that are mathematically spoken to him, and that's his spirit language, which he accepts, which still creates a faith inside of him. Can he be manipulated? Yeah, everybody can. Okay?
He's human.
He's human, exactly.
He's
polymorphic DNA.
One of the things I actually really like about him is he's remarkable.
I had to look that up. Great word.
Yeah. So the last time we really saw somebody that would be somebody similar to Bruce Lee.
Oh yeah. Oh, Bruce. It was good. One of the good ones. But yeah, look, the Twitter thing I'm watching with fascination, because I'm watching an awful lot of things shift. If anyone gets control of that, which is what he's after, I mean, he's trying to take control of that. Well, he's had enormous.
So right now, Twitter is a block to free speech, and it is the system in which media is controlled. If you take down one, you'll take like the people that are resisting the Twitter board are the deep staters right now, and it's being exposed as that. And what's going to end up happening? Elliot knew this Elon knew this from the very beginning. He's going to actually take it because they've enacted what's called a poison pill when they rejected his offer. So they're gonna split the stock. Everybody's going to actually, because they get to double their stock, but it's going to change the price. So 877 million becomes 1.6 billion more. Doubles the stock value, which is a way to slow the whole process down. But Elon, he still has enough, even if they do that, for an outright purchase. So what he's going to do is bypass the board and go straight to the shareholders through Twitter to expose how corrupt and rotten the inside management is, and he's going to win support, even completely bypassing whatever the deep state's going to do. And if he can do that, will another one like Peter Thiel jump on? And if there's a collection who can free the media and go to Starlink with it.
All right, pause there, because we've got less than a minute. So let's do part 4, because we're hitting the ground quite well. So let's see. I've got to see what my cat is. So this is the end of part 4.
3 minutes, Monty.
Yeah,
3 minutes, please.
All right, we'll do a 3-minute gap. All right. See you then.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to see Elon troll Twitter left and right, and just trigger all the snowflakes inside Twitter. You know that Twitter employees demanded a day of rest after the announcement?
That wouldn't surprise me, yeah. So welcome to part 4 of this weird lesson into Zooming. Because I'm sure I know they've all been recorded to my computer. I can only find 2 parts at this point in time, but we'll get past that. It's all good. But yeah, that's been a delight watching Elon just go, yeah, I may, I'll put forth even just him buying 10% or just under 10% of Twitter, the reactions from the left and the far left, where if he buys it fully, I'm leaving Twitter. It's like, yeah, you said that about when Trump won and you're going to leave the country. And they, for some reason, Elon's a fascist and he's a threat to democracy. Even CNN or some news people are saying like, oh, this whole Musk thing's terrible. And basically the background thing of it is actually it's only okay when we do it. Like we have to control the narrative, not him. And that's when that whole threat of democracy and everything else like that, that's what they're talking about, because it's no. It's the legacy media. We're the gatekeepers for information. You can't actually do research because there's a lot of people, oh, did you get you heard that on YouTube? It's like, yes, from Harvard. Harvard has a YouTube channel. Or Stanford, or my stepmom's like, oh, YouTube and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, but all the legacy media and institutions are all on YouTube because it's that popular. And that's kind of the problem with YouTube, is they're backing and they favor the legacy media because they spend much more money in advertising. And so people like myself aren't getting helped by the algorithm. I'll say it that way.
So I'll finish what I was saying about the astral world and Twitter. So right now, all the internal employees who have become left-wing extremists, have become zealots, and are operating close to the technology, have been exposed to a high amount of demonic spirits. And Elian making an actual bid to take over the company with Reform It means there's going to be a whole lot of demons that no longer have a job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And guess what? Those ex-Twitter employers, what are they going to go do? Rumble? Oh, God, no. Rumble is a cesspool of the extreme right. The early ones that got kicked out and went to Rumble, Gab, and all those other ones, they have a nasty, nasty community of the super crazies over there who are ruining those platforms.
Yeah, like I share my videos on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute. And there's an audio form through Anchor FM, which is connected to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I mean, the whole reason of doing that is my fear for censorship. But the good thing is I'm not that big. So like I don't stick out on their radar. But, if anyone goes, I've got all these backups. It's a pain in the ass to load up to everything. But it also, in a way, it spreads my audience thin. Instead of just at one central place, there's all these multiple avenues.
Right. Now, the other thing with the astral world of Twitters is when you go higher up the management system, the more intelligent you have people that are high-level engineers, et cetera, you get more refined astral entities of manipulation and control, especially one that manipulate office politics. Now, Melissa, can you talk about entities in office politics at all and kind of relate it to a high corporate level, like something like Twitter?
Look, one of the best things I could probably direct you to, and again, I know I do this a lot, Bruce isn't even here this time, but I would direct you to listen to the audiobook of Stardust Ranch, and that's going to tell you an awful lot about attachment, entity, and the control's not the right word, but let's say influence of dark entity and dark influence. When it comes to for a human to actually have one of these attachments or entities come in on board of them, they actually have to be in a really low vibration state. That's where the human has to be for them to actually be able to attach. So for most part, you'll find that entities and the likes will attach to people that are vulnerable in terms of any sort of synthetic influence, whether they're alcoholic or something like that, drug addicts, anything like that. People that are depressed, people that are grieving, people that are in lower vibrational forms. When it comes to higher corporate level, like you're talking about, Andrew, for an entity to actually attach in that and start utilizing that individual, it's usually when they've put themselves in such a state of frenzy of under fear, like greed, power, desire, and often, like, look at what's a good one? Bezos is a good one. Look at him, where he was, he started Amazon from his little, wherever he did, was it a garage or an office in his home or something? And but from the outset was driven by obsessive greed and everything fear-based. That's where your entity attachment comes in, and then it gets to this higher corporate level on these people riding on their I was going to say insane, but insane is such a strange word, really, but riding on their ridiculous levels of obsessive greed and obsessive fear-based drive, fear of poverty, fear of all of that sort of stuff. And so, and then you end up with these incredibly dark forces influencing that extreme high level. With Bezos too, the fascination of his ex-wife who got away from him, which I doubt he'll ever recover from, and shows that she wasn't part of that. She's actually, the minute she's broken away from him, she's been one of the most, I was reading the figures that she's given away. She's given away
Everything,
billions and billions.
Because it's blood money. It's because it's blood money. It's because it's blood money.
Yeah.
She had no doubt at some level, whether it's subconscious or whether it's where it is, she knows what she got away from and is trying to do right for it, trying to bring balance back to it.
Yeah.
And so that's fascinating to watch. But anyway, to go back to that, so that's where your entities have entered that higher level. They've actually come in at a root level where they've been able to attach, control, influence, and ride the ride to the point that they would reach a point of so-called leadership. And for a long time, have a look at Hollywood. Like in particular in America, where America is so focused on celebrity as being important. Big mistake, everyone. But anyway, we're seeing that die out now. We're seeing like movie stars that were so important and they're all aging. There's no movie star coming up that's replacing the Brad Pitts and the George Clooney's look, Timothy Chalamet, awesome kid, amazing actor, but not under that influence. Hasn't actually been assaulted by entity or attachment. Oh, he's got a little bit, nothing serious. But he's
well, you've also had 2 years of lockdown and pandemic, and you saw how those the traditional Hollywood actors and actresses, they freaked out because like even Will Smith started a podcast. Because I remember it, because I started my podcast. They needed that, or maybe not the actor themselves, but the entities. They needed that energy because they weren't being looked at, and so that's
right.
kind of.
Actors they start at that point of vulnerability. If you're an actor, and a lot of actors they require a lot of attention. They're highly creative, and with that they cycle and they tend to get to really low points. So they're an absolute vulnerable element of the human race for getting attachments and entities coming on at a very early stage in their life. And so by the time you get to people that are like iconic figures that have gone all levels, this is sort of not your Sean Connery era, but obviously he's gone, but this era where you've got your George Clooney's, your Brad Pitts, and people that we thought were superstars and absolute amazing and all the rest, and people took them for the roles that they played and made them far more important than they are. But and in that too, but you haven't actually seen that in that generation coming up underneath that. They haven't been that vulnerable for some reason, whether it's the millennial aspect or what it is coming through in the actors and stuff moving up through the ranks now. We're seeing brilliant actors and stuff that aren't so influenced by attachment. And so that's fascinating to watch too, because the influence of that attachment has lost its megaphone. Like you're saying, Mark, the last 2 years, we've seen a desperation in that generation of celebrity to make sure they're still being heard.
And also, like, I mean, I'm not sure it's 100% true, but like adrenochrome, people are aging badly. So something's been missing. It may be an adrenochrome. It could be just they weren't getting enough attention from that energy. I actually shared, and it made people cry from laughter. Iron Maiden's first album, self-titled, actually has Eddie, which is their mascot, which is basically a punk-looking zombie. But someone had photoshopped in Celine Dion's face, and you can't really tell the difference. Because have you seen Celine Dion recently? It's like, she's not performing, so she's not getting that energy from the audience, which is like a transaction in that respect. But the entity that is feeding off her is going to town, because it's like, I'm not getting enough. So, yeah, it's interesting watching movies 10 years older than now, where you look at them now, like even Sean Penn, or there's a certain group of people who have aged so quickly in the last decade, and then there's us who kind of look the same as a decade ago.
Yeah, but a lot of those superstars who aged quickly, it was because of drugs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Political class is beset by entity attachment now, big time.
Oh yeah,
the political class, Canada, United States. It's just they're almost like mannequins.
And the bureaucrats too.
Yes, it goes down into 2 or 3 layers of the
Yeah.
bureaucracies, the ministries, and the departments.
Question: What merit does Kamala Harris actually have? Not that she's a black woman, but like why?
She was an attorney general for California.
Oh, that worked out well.
Did she attain AG? I thought she was just an assistant AG, like a prosecutor.
Pretty sure she was an attorney general.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because you just look at her for the last 2 years. How long's it been? I don't know. Everything's a blur. Well, it's just the start of 21. Yeah, so it's probably 14 months. Apart from laughing and making gaffes, she hasn't really done anything.
Exactly. Yeah. She hasn't done anything other than making gaffes and avoiding questions. Dumbly, stupidly at that.
Yeah. She's worse than Dan Quayle. Dan Quayle is a genius compared to Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
And he got potato wrong.
Exactly. And why don't the Saturday Night Live people put on their best imitator and make Kamala Harris look like the dumb fool that she is? Because they can't. Because they can't.
No, because it's there's that division in America. It's that false binary where like if we talk about Ukraine and we say anything against the Ukrainian military, where are they bombing their own citizens? Bam! Already I'm a Putin supporter. It's like no, there's more than 2 options here. Like you could, and so if you actually attack Kamala and you're on the left, look at Bill Maher, what he's going through. He's challenging the far left ideologies because they're fucking insane, and he's called a right winger because he's actually challenging stupid ideas.
Exactly.
Even
stupid
Tim,
ideas.
Yeah, like Tim Pool is referred to. He's the right winger because he doesn't agree with everything from the far left. It's Tim Pool. The only thing I really have a problem with Tim Pool is like take the beanie off once in a while.
Right. I know it's your brand, but every now and then take the beanie off.
I need to know, like I've seen a shot of Chuck D from Public Enemy without a cap, and he usually has short hair. Like just once. He doesn't have to make a whole career out of it. Just, take the beanie off once. I'm a beanie wearer myself in Melbourne, and, that can get kind of irritating in 40-degree heat. Well, he's in Virginia. It's going to get hot.
Yeah, it does get hot there.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's we're seeing that shifting where certain spells are losing their, like I was talking to Andrew earlier about 9/11. The spell of 9/11 has gone away. But at the same time, the younger generations that are born after 9/11, some don't know it exists, and they've grown up with that in the background, with the war on terror and everything else like that. No, they couldn't conceive before 9/11.
Right.
Like you talk to children, you talk to some children, it's like, what, you didn't have an iPhone in 1987? No, our phones were stuck to a wall by a cord.
And still had a little ring around it that you had to go ring.
Yeah, there was a rotary phone. What?
Dial up. Yeah. Literally dial it up.
And that's before the internet. Yeah. Like, wow, how old are you? Like, you have to go to the library.
You had to be committed to make a phone call.
Yeah. You go to your friends' houses and they've changed from dial to push button, and whoa, slow down there, spaceman.
Yeah, and unless you had a machine to record phone messages, when you rang someone, you hoped they were there.
Yeah.
Not like now where, I mean, I'm slowly learning not to answer every time someone rings my phone. There's still this, like, the phone's ringing, you must answer it. No, I don't. That control over the phone, because like if you look at it from a cynical way, the mobile phone is one of the worst interruption machines that's been created on humanity.
Yes.
Even just a text.
Yeah, it's universal, Monty. I've told this story before. I mean, you can drive by some wooden houses in the province I live in Costa Rica. You can see a family out on their front porch, just sitting on an old sofa or something. And the value of the 5 phones they're twittering away on are worth more than the house.
Yeah.
It's $5 phone.
Well,
And
remember that caravan that came
like
from,
all 5 of them. If you're over
Yeah.
14, you got the phone. It's like,
yeah, that caravan for Honduras, which disappeared. They all had phones. Like they would actually went up the continent. There's photos of like, you know, power cords and power boards with all these phones. It's like, yeah, you're a refugee, but you still have the iPhone 12. Like, how are you a refugee when you have a personal device that is over $1,000 in Australian money?
Because most of those phones are stolen or knockoffs,
Yeah, I know.
and they're not actually iPhones or something different. What is it? Not Motorola. Nokia has it's called a dumb phone in like Africa and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it's still a smartphone, but it's the most minimalist it can be.
Yeah, it probably doesn't have apps or anything. Like my uncle actually got a Nokia on purpose.
No, it does have apps. It's just its compression and data rate are meant for spread out towers. So the phone itself has a better natural reception, the mechanics of the phone, but the limits of the software are going to be connectivity.
Yeah. Well, my uncle just got a phone. He didn't want anything like, you know, the Twitter app or the Facebook app. Like the salesperson said, "What do you want your phone to do? Make calls?" Like actually a phone. So I think he may be able to receive a photograph via text. That's the level we're at. But,
that's what my mom has, and my dad, he can't receive photos or send photos. His phone can take pictures, but I don't exactly know how to get a picture off that old ass phone.
But also that's the level of baby boomers where like they have the convenience of, I can take the phone with me, but you don't need to watch television through it.
Right.
You know, and that's the problem at the other end of the.
Most of them are so blind that they actually can't watch television on a standard smartphone.
Yeah, and you look at the other end of the age pool where parents are giving 3-month-old babies iPads, and it's the digital babysitter.
Yeah.
Well, I know with my nephew and my niece, I don't think she's really that excited about screen time. But I know my nephew maybe changed now because he's 12, 13. But for a while there, he was only allowed an hour of screen time on the iPad or stuff like that. He didn't really watch television, but he plays video games. He's on the computer and the iPad. I don't hardly use my TV.
I only use my TV when I want to plug my computer into it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. This big monster behind me. To watch Netflix, I got to plug a computer into that. I gave up the satellite service. I don't know. I can watch things on a computer, but when they come through a TV, the experience seems completely different.
It is different. Yeah.
Like I still buy physical media. Like my latest acquisition is Doctor Who season 24. This came out in 1987, but they released it on Blu-ray, so fools like me, fans like me, can pay for it. But it's slightly different to watch it on the 44 inch compared to, like, obviously it's bigger, so it's more cinemas type thing. But a lot of people, like, my iMac is so high grade, I actually had to buy an external CD DVD drive because they want everything to be digital thing.
Or thing.
Yes. So guess what? That was Melissa. Yeah.
Or thing. But no, it's whenever I see my kids doing anything on the phones, iPads, computers, any sort of devices like that, I'm still reminded that Steve Jobs, when he invented everything, would not let his own children touch it.
Yeah.
Like none of his kids were allowed to have an iPhone or an iPad or anything like that, and that stood until he died. I mean, I'm sure they've probably all got them now. But,
yeah.
And if that doesn't give you an idea of how damaging it is to the human brain and how damaging it is to the cognitive ability for anyone, but for a developing brain particularly, there's no way in hell I'd do the digital netting in front of a 3-month-old. Bloody hell. It's the damage of it's just. I'm always reminded of that. With everything I've read and everything I know about it. What reminds me is that Steve Jobs himself wouldn't let his kids go there, and I'm reminded that with Elon Musk with Tesla. I actually love Tesla cars. I think they're really cool, but I'll never own one because of the amount of control the software engineers have of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And it too easily you could get a hacker in there or someone that would break through that security, and everyone that's driving a Tesla dies. Or riding in a Tesla, because it's much more of riding in a device than driving a car. But it's a brilliant, brilliant car. And as much as I like them, I won't own one. I will own an electrical vehicle, but I won't own a Tesla because of the amount of control they have. The moment, like all the way along when they were developing it, Elon was warning everyone about AI and the dangers of artificial intelligence. And obviously he knew, like, wow, this is actually really quite dangerous, the level of control that we have.
No, the way it was being applied. If you really read, it's the Joe Rogan episode where he drinks liquor and smokes weed and lets two things slip. Just a handful of little tiny words, but you understand it's the way it was being used and what people were asking to make negative applications of him to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it was, he's just, mind you, there was that interesting phase of, I've forgotten the name of the artist. She's a grunge artist. He was partnered with her for a while, had a baby with her. They called X.
Grimes.
X Grimes. Yeah.
That's it. That was an interesting. That was an interesting battle of the forces between her and him coming together, and I wondered how long it would last, what would go on, because they came from two very. As I said, now that Andrew's explained it, I've looked at him a million times thinking, just who are you? But the thing that's consistent with Elon is that he's always childlike. He's always full of wonder and imagination and creativity. And she was the opposite to that, absolute polar opposite to that.
Yeah.
And they like maggots, polar opposites are attracted, but for whatever reason that's ended, and I don't read gossip sheets, so I don't know. But that was fascinating too. I wondered how on earth he ended up in that relationship and why. And yet he's come out of it, and now he's trying to claim free speech. So
he keeps the flip flop. I have the question of, is he allowed to do these certain things, which I find fascinating. And so, but I also shouldn't waste time because he's going to do what, no, he's a fake. No one's going to listen to me. He wants to go to.
He's, in terms of the spiritual war we're watching, he's often on the bleachers. He gives himself a break on the bleachers, and then he dives back into the center of it. He's still
that could be his mission where he's at. I mean, there's an agreement that he made $200 billion. That doesn't just happen naturally, if that makes sense. Like he created this lifetime 10,000 lifetimes ago. It's like, I'm sure you could give me 5 million, I'll be all right. We're coming to the end of the show, mainly because my cat's yelling at me, and I think Melissa, I'm a psychic. Melissa needs to go. It wasn't that ding, which was a text. Nothing of the sort. So we don't have to go straight away, but say 10 minutes or something like that. Just a preemptive thing. Now it's not Zoom telling me, it's me. I've made a choice. I've made free will. It's not this fucking AI. And my cat's still yelling at me. If anyone knows how to talk to a cat, please come over, because she hasn't learned to write. I've asked her multiple. She's been shitty with me every night for 4 fucking years. Anyway, but thank you for coming, and I hope everyone had a good time and people watching enjoyed it. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll have a normal comedy show. But it's just very interesting in where we're at. Especially a clown world where like satire and parody haven't died. They've morphed into reality. Like Andrew started the whole sort of meme, the idea of we're going to see Three Stooges sketches. And then I added written by Monty Python. And now I've added on crack. Did you think you'll ever hear this sentence, that the UK government are going to send refugees who make it from the Ukraine to England to Rwanda?
Yep.
Monty, don't break up the dogs. Just go on your way. Let these
Yeah, I know.
transactions happen.
I know, but that's the level. Like,
Treat-
how could
treat
it get any
Melbourne
worse? Yeah.
At this point, for your own karmic cleanliness, treat Melbourne like I treat the rainforest. Just keep walking and don't look.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm here for my own karma. Melbourne's a great place to resolve karma. I'm here to. I'm being me. I'm holding frequency. Everyone else can fuck off. Oh, there's a state election. You do that. Go.
Yeah.
You figure that out.
It's all like that. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye to
All right,
for everyone
later.
that does tune into this. You can find us all in the usual spots. You can go to melissahockinghughes.com, andrewbartzis.com, it's brucemacdonald.com, isn't it?
It's Amazon.com, Bruce MacDonald.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
And if you watch,
Bruce has not figured out how to make himself a website yet.
Oh, actually, I have. But
wink, wink.
You only have to manage it. Don't do it.
Said the technical writer who says I can do everything.
yeah, so boy, that show you did on Stardust Ranch, Melissa, was extraordinary for sales. I'll tell you right now. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm making money. That's how good it is.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. I'm glad. But more than that, I'm glad for Joyce. And and still. I've been exchanging emails with Joyce, so it's really lovely. What a fabulous lady.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And just a reminder, I think next week or this weekend we have the online funeral.
The memorial.
Oh God, I forgot about that. What's the date? The 19th?
18th.
So
Okay,
I have to look at my schedule. I'm not on
Give
my
me a-
computer now.
that's
Give
Monday.
me a WhatsApp warning on that, please, Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah, it's for me too. I haven't got anything here for some reason.
Mhm.
Well,
I know.
Bruce, you're the one that sent it to me. So why don't you just scroll up in your WhatsApp instead of me scrolling up in my WhatsApp and look for your message you sent to me? Ha! This is classic technology. I can't scroll. I want you to scroll. You've got an iPhone 13 that's better to scroll on.
Yeah. Dear viewer, at this point, I'm going to fade to black and say goodbye. We have to finish this conversation.
Well, we coordinate calendars.
Yeah. This
Bye,
is
guys.
behind the scenes. So we'll just say goodbye now to the dear viewer. Thank you for watching, everyone.